Hi friends, it's Deanna Willison from Our Blooming Catholic Life, and it is another Water Wednesday. And so I'm going to address a book review that I did that was on an environmental movement, and I've gotten a lot of flack for it, but I've also gotten a lot of views for it, and I feel like I need to come back and address the whole topic of braiding sweetgrass. Okay, so yeah, it's one of my most popular videos, and it confuses me as to why, because from the comments people are making, they've all read the book, so I'm not sure why they're watching a book review. It completely baffles me as to why they're watching the book reviews. The comments aren't very nice, necessarily. Thankfully, YouTube catches some of the nastier ones, and so you don't have to see them, and I don't, well, I do see them. It still shows them to me and lets me know. And that's one of the reasons I'm here. There's been a great negative response to that book review. And I don't think that book review is unfair. And here's why. I actually have worked as a naturalist. I've worked in environmental advocacy. I've spent a lot of my time, I'm a Franciscan. We love nature for what it reveals to us about God and that it was made holy by Jesus coming to earth. And I'm thinking, I'm going to love this. This is like Franciscan spirituality. It's weaving spirituality and science and culture all together. And this is going to be a beautiful book. And it came to me with such a great review. I was so excited to read it. But I had to get through the first part of the book in order to get to anything good. And I'll admit, I didn't get through it. It was negative. It was uncalled for, mocking of religion, and I didn't feel like it was necessary. And I kept picking it back up, thinking it was going to get better, and it didn't for me. And fair enough. Okay, so the author is of Native American descent and Western European descent. And she seemed to have an idyllic childhood and look back on her life feeling like there was something missing, right? Because she sort of lived in a Native American lifestyle, but they didn't remember why they did the things they did, and it was very blended of many cultures, and she didn't grow up in the community that she could have had Western Europeans not come. Well, here's the thing, is she's also part Western European, so yeah, that doesn't make sense logically either. But still, so she mourned a heritage that she did not have, and that's fair. It's okay to have grief. It's okay to lash out over it. I don't know that you should be lashing out to the point that you feel the need to put that in a book that's not about that. So that's where I'm coming from. And yeah, it hurt me. It did. I felt it was abusive. I felt it was unnecessary. And it tainted my view of what she was going to write later. And that really speaks to where we are right now today. We're in a cancel culture. There's all these riots going on, people trying to make their voice be heard with mockery, with violence, with just weirdness. It's not even, I don't think it's peaceful to go off and behead a statue of Mary. Repeatedly beheading a statue of Mary. That's attacking somebody's religion. Oh, and the attacking of statues because they're white. Like, really? In Pennsylvania, there's a statue of a man reading a book on a bench, and he's been attacked. What? Was he oppressive sitting there reading a book? How did you know what color he is? He's just a statue sitting on a bench. A metal statue on a bench, I think it's metal. It could have been plastered. Like, there's no color to it. It's statue color, right? I don't know why it was attacked. There wasn't a message on that one. Some of the other ones are very vile, attacking like the 10 Commandments. I don't know why anybody would be against the 10 Commandments. You could be against Christianity, but against the 10 Commandments? I think they're pretty fair. So I don't get that either. And saying that you want your voice heard, but you're also breaking into the Ronald McDonald House that houses sick children and their families when they're there in a town for treatment. I can't hear your cries of injustice over your acts of injustice. And I think that's fair to say. Now, if you're doing a peaceful protest, and you're genuinely looking for reform, give me some reforms and how you're going to do them. Don't just cause havoc and violence to make yourself feel better or say you're getting your voice heard. Like a lot of the attacks on Christian churches that are going on, and it's several churches a day around the world are attacked. There are people getting punched en masse. And that's just what's going on right now. There are other times, obviously, where people were martyred for their faith. But, like, why? What are you trying to get heard? What I'm getting heard is that you're a bully and you're willing to use force to get your way. Tell me what you want. Don't say you want to defund the police. That doesn't even make sense. What's your alternative? Giving the money to social services, great. But one of the reasons that police have trouble is that they're not paid decent wages. And so the best people aren't volunteering to be in the police force because they aren't getting decent wages. And maybe they don't always get the best training, although they get a lot of training. So you think by lowering the pay, you're going to get a better quality police force? Or you're saying you're going to redirect that money to social services and then people won't need a police force? But you're saying that you're educated and you're out rioting, so I don't know that social services is the entire answer. And here's the thing. We can't hear your voice over your actions, over your negativity, over your verbal attacks, over your physical attacks. And in the case of this book, like, I can't hear her voice because I can't respect where she's coming from. You're saying, like, I was attacked, and so you don't understand my culture, but I'm going to attack yours now. And then I'll explain why my culture is great. Like, that doesn't... No, I can't hear you. In all fairness, I went to go look for the book to give it another chance, because I'm not in cancel culture. I know I didn't burn the book, but I can't find it. But my house is filled with books, and that's fair. I can't find any given book on it any given day necessarily. So it's here somewhere. If I find it, I am totally not going to go buy another one. But if I happen to find it, I am totally willing. Maybe I'll jump halfway in the book and read it from there and see how that goes. Because I am open to dialogue. But dialogue starts, I think we've been discussing that dialogue starts in humility. And if you say you're sitting down at a table and negotiate with someone and you tell them they're ugly, they're not going to hear you. If you just sit down and tell them they're wrong right off, again, they're probably going to go on the defense and they're not going to hear you. So if you want your voice to be heard, I guess you have two things you can do. You can preach to the choir, which is what I think that book is really doing. Or I'd like to give her the benefit of the doubt and say she had grief and this was her getting that grief out in the beginning of the book. Maybe it's that. Yeah, so I don't know. Was she playing to the current culture, the current cancel culture, the current attack Christianity, white people are bad culture? Was she appealing to that, or was it just grief that needed to come out and things that needed to be said? I don't know, but it was hard to hear her points after that. And I guess people say that, that's why they want statues taken down. It's hard to talk about freedom when the person owned slaves. And I get that to some degree, but do you throw out everything from them because of that? And so, yeah, maybe I do need to give the book another chance again. I legit couldn't find it. And I went and looked at other book reviews of the book. I'll tell you, it's very popular in the witch community, and that did not speak well to me, and that's one of the other reasons I set the book aside. I was looking for people who reviewed the book in a way that made me see past the negativity in the beginning, and that's not what I found. I found people who embraced it for very weird reasons, and that is nothing on the author, because even the people doing those reviews admitted that it was not aimed at them. They didn't feel it was aimed at them, but they found it beautiful because it was fun. Yeah, people she wasn't attacking in the beginning of the book really liked it. And yeah, right? If someone's not attacking you, it's easier. And I will say, I am trying to hear more voices. I think I've been open about that. One of the things that's really come up for me, you don't hear much about Africa in American news, and through my looking at the Well for Africa projects, which all started from my well not working, my physical well and the yard not working, I started looking at the Well for Africa project, which led me to the Matemwa Leprosy Clinic, which led me to John Bradburn, and trying the history of Zimbabwe, and looking at current events in Zimbabwe and Africa in general. And it's like, yikes! I knew nothing about African politics before this period in time, so I'm very grateful, and there are some very kind Africans on Twitter. I'll admit, they've been calling me to task. They're like, why don't Americans know more about what's going on in Africa? You really need to study it. Like, I don't know who, because I've been to my county's dump, I know where it is. I don't believe my county is exporting trash to Africa, but somebody is exporting, somebody in America, maybe it's large cities, I don't honestly know. Somebody is exporting their trash and their plastic recycling to Africa. And if you look at the African dumps, they aren't kind of the neat, orderly looking little dumps like I have nearby. This is horrific. Just mounds of trash and plastic everywhere. And then you see, oh, this is how the plastic ends up in the oceans, because it's probably running straight off these dumps, taking small bits of plastic and whatnot into the rivers, into the ocean. Okay, that makes sense. And yet we had this whole coronavirus, and here we are all back to using our single-use plastics again. Probably should have turned that around, but fair enough. I'm just pointing out, I love this tea, but it's in a plastic bottle. I wish it was in glass or metal, something recyclable. I really do prefer glass. I'm a bit of a klutz, but I do prefer glass bottles. Because plastic, I mean, it's recyclable into more plastic, and each time it gets a little bit tougher and yuckier, right? Yeah. Except for, I do have a Franciscan sister who uses old plastic grocery bags. It takes about 500 of them. She makes them into yarn, which is called plarn, plastic yarn, and makes them into sleeping mats for the homeless. And they make very great sleeping mats for the homeless for many reasons. But I don't think she would recommend, hey, go get plastic grocery bags because I can make them into mats. If you have to get plastic bags, she is happy to make them into sleeping mats for the homeless. But I think she would even rather we didn't have them, but we do. And so she does what she can with them. But let's all start. I don't really get that people's reusable grocery bags were spreading coronavirus. Like, I think some of this was an overreaction, and we need to go back. I know my local farm mart that I love so much uses their leftover produce boxes that are normally cardboard. They're using those instead of putting plastic bags out into the environment, which I think is a great idea. And you wash your produce when you get it home, so fair enough on that. Yeah, so there's so many things to think about, and I thank my African friends on Twitter because they while they are calling me to task, they are doing it in a way that doesn't offend me, that says, hey, like, no, we're people too, like, read about Africa, learn about, they even said, hey, this is a news station that we think is fair, you may want to check this out. Like, they're actually giving me resources to find out more. Now, whether or not those are fair resources, I don't know, but since I know nothing, or, this much, I guess any resource could be helpful right now, but just looking at it, yeah, opening my mind and looking at it, but that is coming from a place of dialogue, whereas this other one was not. I don't think Braiding Sweetgrass for me was coming from a place of dialogue. I think she needed to be heard, and that's fair enough. I think we all have those moments where we're not really talking with people, we're talking at people, and that happens, and that's okay. That's okay. And I'm probably not going to read that book. If I find it, great. I looked for it for like a half an hour and didn't find it. I'm not going to waste any more time on it. There are plenty of good books out there. But if you were offended by my offense at being attacked, sorry, I was. I'm a human being too. Just because my skin color is pink, again, no one would ever call me white, really, if you knew me. My skin color is decidedly pink. Whether it's pink or white or when my ancestors came to America, apparently is irrelevant. People think that I can't be offended by people insulting my faith or culture. I'm human. I get insulted just like anyone else. But hey, I would love to work with you on an issue. So approach me as a friend. Approach me as a fellow human being with the same dignity that I hope I'm approaching you. And let's have a dialogue. That's it for this Water Wednesday. Thanks for letting me ramble. And don't forget, if you have comments, go ahead, put them below. I will try and get to them and take that feedback on board. God bless you, friends.